One of the beauty in Judaism is that we, meaning the rabbis, will make sure that the women, especially the widows, the orphans, are taken care of. So here we are on page 103, 2 lines from the top of the page. Lo yomru shneihem. In the Mishnah we dealt with the issue, you have 2 husbands, meaning a woman, she got divorced, she have a daughter, a young daughter, and now she married a second husband. She asked him to support his stepdaughter for 5 years. He agreed. They get divorced, and now she have the third husband, who is basically the second, who commit himself to support the daughter. And now the 2 husbands, the ex and the current, convene. So the question is, especially if the daughter meanwhile got married, who is the one who supported her? Because it looks like she will get 3 or at least 2 times the support. So the Mishnah said, if one is the one in charge for food and one is in charge to give her money, the 2 men are obligated to support the girl. Both of them may not jointly say that they will be partners in her support. Rather, each one fulfill his obligation independently. So here we juxtapose with the story that's very connected to the circumstance in the Mishnah. ההוא גברה דאוגר לה לריחיה לחברי לתחינה. So you have here 2 fellows. One, old days, they used to have a millstone, the one that grind the wheat, right? So let's call a name. The owner of the millstone is Reuven. Shimon renting from Reuven the millstone and grinding it. Now, Shimon is make a special agreement. Instead of paying rent every month, paying lease, he will grind whatever Reuven needs in exchange of renting the machine, the millstone. Lesof I atar. So Reuven has enough money from his business that he no longer needs to make that deal. So he turned to Shimon and he said to him, look, you have to pay me. Zavin reichaya vechamra. He's already now purchased a reichaim, which is that millstone, another one, and he has a donkey. It's 3 options in Hebrew, the word chamra, since it's based in Hebrew Aramaic. You can say that there's a donkey, you can say that it's a wood part, like in the cellar, wine cellar, you have it, or you can say that it's, in Hebrew you call it chamorim, also the foundation of a table. So anyway, so since he said, Amar le adaidna, hava tachinena gabach, hashtahav le igra. Imagine in the modern days, the guys, let's say he owns a store, and they produce pizza, right? So he has also an office. So he said to the guy, you know what? Instead of paying me rent, whatever it is, let's say a couple of thousands a month, you produce all the pizza for my business for lunch, right? Now the owner, now all of a sudden turned to so rich, so he opened another store, and he doesn't need him to provide free pizza lunch, right? So he said to the guy who rented for him, look, I don't need any more for you to give me free. I want you to pay me a regular rent. Amar le mitchan tachinena lach. Says, no, we make original deal, that I do this in your millstone, that's what I'm willing to do, but not to give you cash. סבר רבינו למימר, היינו מתניתים. לא יאמרו שניהם, הרי אנו זנין אותה כאחד. That's matching the Mishnah. That the two husbands cannot say that we are together jointly will partner in their support. אלא אחד זנה, ואחד נותן לה דמי מזונות. Even the husband commit himself to pay her only cash, but since there is a source for income, for sustenance in a different way, so therefore you just need to give her cash. So the same here. Originally, since he doesn't commit himself, the tenant, to pay the owner cash, only to grind for him from the millstone. So therefore, since he no longer needs him to grind for him, Reuven has the right to ask Shimon to pay him cash. Amar le Rav Avira, Midame, how do you juxtapose the two sources, the two things? Hatam, over there in the Mishnah, Chad kreisa, itla tarte kreisata lately, which means she can eat only one sauce and not two. Hacha matze amarlei tchon vezabin, tchon veotiv. So, since is no lost here, how can he ask him to pay him cash? Velo amaran, the whole idea that the tenant needs to pay him cash. Ela de late china lereichaya, which means as long as he's not grind with payment. Aval it late china lereichaya, but if he find a way to use the grinding with payment, which means he is not losing anything for paying cash, כגון זו, כופין אותו על מידת סדום. So there we force him to seize his conduct characteristic of Sdom, to pay his rental fee in the form of money. So the Sdom is the idea that they just wicked people, because you don't lose anything. So here even the Rashi said they don't lose anything, they still behave in that way, just to be vicious. Mishnah, dealing with the rights of the widow to all the estate of the late husband. Meaning, as we study on page 52b, one of the Ketubah of the marriage contract agreement is that she be under his support as long as they married, or as long as she is not married again. He needs to support her even the days that he no longer among the living. Menashe Amra, if a widow said to the heir of a late husband, I efshi lazuz mi beit ba'ali, I want to stay in the house that my late husband lived. Meaning, she lived with him in a house. Most probably the heir owns it now, and she wants to stay there. אין היורשים יכולים לומר לה, the heir cannot say to the widow of the father, the stepmother, לכי לבית אביך ואנו זנים אותך. Go to your father and we will pay. We supported you. אלא זנין אותה ונותנים לה מקום לפי כבודה. מדור לפי כבודה, which means they have to support her and they have to, according to her honor, to give her a place to stay. So the Rambam in Ilchot Ishut chapter 18, he said that if she have no place to stay, they are obligated to give her a shelter, to give a place to live, the same as Meiri. However, the Ritva tells us, as well as the Rosh and Rabbi Kiva Eiger, no. that they have no obligation, if she have no housing, they have no obligation to rent for her a place to stay. So it's all with the assumption that the late husband left her either by living together or left her a place. Anyway, אמרה אי אפשי לזוז מבית אבא, meaning after the husband passed she went to live with her father. So then יכולים היורשים לומר לה, אם את אצלנו יש לך מזונות ואם אין את אצלנו אין לך מזונות. She wanted them to send to her place the sustenance. They said, look, if you are come to us, we'll pay for that. But if you're not with us, we're not. The Mishnah circumscribed that ruling. אם הייתה טוענת מפני שהיא ילדה ואין ילדים, if she's saying it because they are both young people, and either the Shita Mekubetz said that he's concerned about sometimes of physical relations, or it's a reputation, the Yerushalmi said that she doesn't want people to think that she have any lustious or any type of relations with them. So that's because we can't say that that's mother and children, right? It's not the concern. Zanin otavi beveit avia. They have to support her while she is in her father's house. The Gemara said, תנו רבנן משתמשת במדור כדרך שהיה משתמשת בחיי בעלה. So if she have a spacious place, she continued to do it the same manner that will be the time of her late husband. The Ran explained that they cannot relocate her against her will because they said it's too spacious, it's too expensive, etc. It's specifically the place that she is, it's the place that she can use. The same applies to servant. The same way as the clothing. The same applies to all the utensils that she used, silver, gold. The same manner of which she lived with her late husband. That's the language in the Ketubah in marriage contract. As long as we live together, I am responsible for all of that. That's part of the contract. So therefore, we give her the same term and conditions that she used to have earlier. Tana Rav Yosef beveiti velo bevikti. Rav Yosef said the husband stipulated in a marriage contract, you will reside in my house with the implication and not in my hut. So therefore, if the house is too small, she cannot obligate the heirs to allow her to live in a house with them. אמר רב נחמן, יתומים שמכרו מדור אלמנה לא עשו ולא כלום. So they said if the orphan sold the living quarters of the widows, so the sale is invalid, it's not there. ומה ישנה מדרבי אסי אמר רבי יוחנן? לא אמר רבי אסי אמר רבי יוחנן, יתומים שקנו מכרו נכסים מועטים, if the orphan came. So the Gemara said is a sage's decree. If a person left very little estate, that's the Bava Batra 139, so all of his estate is for sustenance of the orphan, and the orphan is not receiving anything from that, which means mashu machru, whatever happened. The sale is sale. So you have to differentiate between something that it's during the lifetime of the husband, so already has a lien, versus with the orphan, it's only after the passing. The Gemara limited that rules, and it said, as far as the widows is concerned, her right, if the part of the estate, for example, living estate, part is called mador, is full, it's not the obligation upon the heir to fix it. I would say the language of the Gemara shows that there is a friction there, especially with the steps. תנא מאחם דור המנה שנפל ליורשים חייבים לבנותו ולא יודע, אפילו היא אומרת, הנכים ובנים משלים שומעים לה, even she wish to do it, so by שיפצה מאי, if she already did it, if she repaired the house, so is as though the house collapse. So the Gemara said, תיקו, תשמעי את ארץ קושיות והבעיות. This is one of the situations, because she renovated it. So she renovated it, so what are you going to do next? She renovate. Mishna said, Omra Yevshi. If the widow said, I do not want to move from my father's house, and you should bring my support there. So they have no obligation to do it. So why it's depend upon the place that she's staying in her husband? Look, many people in the house, they share the expense. It's also, you can go by a little, the way that the Dat Vunot said, and the Khatam Sofer said that it's kind of the spiritual effect of Achnas Sorchim, or the spiritual effect of many people there. So it's kind of blessing. So either you go by literal pshat, that it's saving money, or the blessing, you have many people. You know how Glenn used to say, they used to call my home Weisblum B&B. Remember that we used to have full house. One time, I don't know if you remember, guys, that on Pesach, I have my brother-in-law and his family, and all my family here, so by ourselves we're already 15. And we're about to start a Seder, we have a minibus outside, boom, boom, boom. Midshipments came here with the girlfriends and everyone. We were almost 50, you know. This is what happened to the Chaplain Naval Academy. Oh, well, we don't know. We need a place for Seder. Okay. So they should give her support and the father's out according to the blessing of the house, which means according to the amount that they will be required to pay if she lived with them. Beautiful. Ravuna said the languages of our rabbis is blessings. Leshon Chachamim Osher, the language of our teachers are wealth. The language of our sages is healing. So we learn everything from the Rabbanim. Bracha, how is a blessing? Hadamaran, there is a great blessing for many people in the house. Next, Osher, how do you know wealth? Ditnan, that's famous Gemara Bava Batra. 84b, Amocher perot lechavero. Someone sell produce to his fellow. So they make a deal, they close the deal with certain amount. Mashach velo madad. He pulled it, he didn't measure, kana. It's already acquired. Madad velo mashach lo kana. If you measure, it didn't. So one of the kinyanim is meshicha, to pull it. So they said, the Mishna dealing with the situation that the fruits, the produce was in a large vessel, so usually you don't lift it up. So, ve'im haya pikeach, if this buyer is very shrewd, he doesn't have enough time to pull out all the produce, but he wants to make sure that the seller will not change his mind. Socheret mekomo, he rent the place where the produce was located, and he will thereby acquire the produce immediately from the time he measured. So this is like a good advice of business. So in a way you indirectly make it happen even physically. So it's like the sages teach us how to also be wealthy. Marpeh, how is the language of healing? Ditnan, that's Mishna in Psachim 39, there are many more, just an example. Lo il'os adam chitin ויניח על גבי מכתו בפסח מפני שמחה מצות. He said the person should not chew wheat and place them on his wound during Pesach because wheat will become leaven as a result. So that the chew wheat is beneficial for treating a wound. You understand that indirectly. So why they have to emphasize on Pesach? So the idea is Marshall said that it's a healing. Okay, so since we talk about the obligation of a person to his widow, Tanu Rabbanan בשעת פטירתו של רבי, when Biud Anasi passed, about to pass, אומר לבניי אני צריך, he called upon his sons to come there. נכנסו בניו וצבא, אמר להם, יזהרו בכבוד עמכם. When his sons came in, he says, be careful, they honor your mom. נר ידלו במקומו, the same way as I live, in those days before electricity, so they have a light. So he says, I want to have a light. שולחן יהיה במקומו, ירוך במקומו, the table should be set up in its location. מיטה תהיה מוצעת במקומו, the bed should be located in the right place. יוסף חיפני ושמעון אפרתי. These two people, the Aflo explain why they use those locations. Anyway, הם שימשוני בחיי והם שימשוני במותי. these two serve me in my life and they serve me after life. Soon you see a fascinating explanation why he used this term. So now we start step by step. First you have to honor your mom. So the oraita, dichtiv, this is, everyone knows that, right? In Shmot, they said chapter 20 in Aseret HaDibrot. We're about to read it soon in Shavuos, right? Kabed et avicha ve'et imecha. So are you going to tell them something that everybody knows from the Torah? So they said Eshet Ava, stepmother. Right? So they always said Eshet Ava, to honor the stepmother is also biblical. The Tanya, Kabed et avicha ve'et imecha. The Torah is very prudent with words. So why do they use the word et avicha? Zo eshet avicha, the wife of your father. You may not like her, but if your father is in love with her, if you married her, you have to respect her. Ve'et imecha zo ba'al imecha. The additional et in a mom, it's the husband of your mom. You don't have to like him, it's a mitzvah. You have to respect him, right? Vav yeteira ve, right? You see vav, lerabot et achicha gadol, to respect your oldest brother. For sure, we have an assumption that the oldest brother follow the Torah and mitzvahs, right? Anyway, anemile merchaim avalacha mitalo. So the whole story that Rabbi warned his sons, because they figured out they respected my wife, which is their stepmother, as long as I'm around. But they figure out when I'm no longer among the living, they're not obligated by Torah law. So therefore Rabbi told them, I require you to commit yourself to respect her. Right? So in a way, you can say the Turi over there in Reish Mem said 240 that the person doesn't have to respect the step after the passing. But the truth is, some said, the Ramban and others said that it's in a way part of Kibudav, Kvod Aviv. It can be indirectly. Anyway, another commandment he asked them, Ner yadluk bimkomo, Shulchan yaruch bimkomo, mitat teh butzad bimkomo. He asked every single one to take care of. The candle should be lit in the place, the table should be lit, bed. My tama. Why all of that? Kol beishimsha ve'ata lebeitei. Every Friday night, Rabbi used to go to his home. So Rabbeinu Bachya in Bereshit 49 said that his kedusha was so high that even Malach HaMavet couldn't control him. It's a famous Maharsha in Sanhedrin 92 that said that the death and even the resurrection, the Tchiyat HaMeitim, is dependent on the kedusha of the tzaddik. So the highest level is the time of the kiddush. The Ben Yehuda elaborates. Anyway, Ha'u beishimsha, it was Friday night of Shabbos, right? Ata ishabavta kakari abava. It's like hard for us, but just go by the simple ways. The Shechina, the divine providence came there. Amrale amte. So the mate said, Shtiku de Rabbi Yativ. Be quiet because the Rebbe is sitting there. Kivan de Shama, shuv lo ata. When the Rabbi knew that this is the Shechina, that its divine providence is publicized, he didn't come to his house. כדי שלא להוציא לעז על צדיקים הראשונים. So he doesn't want to cause the aspiration on earlier righteous individuals who did not appear to their families following their death. Very high for us, but that's Shem HaGdolim said that he have a right to do it, and didn't exercise his right. Anyway, Yosef Chifani ושמעון אפרתים שימשון בחייו ומשון במותי. What's that mean? That he asked these two people to continue to be shamus him if he's passing. What does that mean? סבור מנד בעדן עלמא ודקאמר. So the people around think that they talk about now, which means that they occupy his burial. כיוון דחזו לקדימה הרסאיו לארסי, these two passed before him. אמרי ישמע מנהלה ועלמא ודקאמר. Then said that he meant that afterlife there will be his shamasim, which is high again. Olam haba. V'adech amar achi, why he said it? The people should not say, oh, they passed earlier something, they did something wrong, they did a beirut. So therefore they're not merited to occupy themselves with the burial of their Rebbe. Ve'ada'idna nami zchuto de Rebbe yuda'anya lo. So they have the zchut of Rebbe up to this point. So in order to avoid any misunderstanding, he announced that they're going to serve him in העולם הבא. Omar leim lechach mi'Yisrael ani tzarich. He has to see the sages before he's passing. Omar lahem, he said to them, Al tispeduni ba'ayarot, which means Rashi explained, when you take, this is famous Rashi in Sanhedrin 47, when you take my coffin between the place, my body between the place that I pass to the cemetery, don't make a eulogy in between. He passed in Tzipori, he's buried in Beit She'arim. So Ayarot, it's larger than the small kfarim, the small villages. That's the way Rashi said. 103b, V'oshivu yeshiva la'achar 30 yom. Meaning, you should make sure that you get together, reconvene the study of yeshiva 30 days after morning. So the Gemara in Moed Katan 22 said that for a Nasi, for someone in that caliber, so you stop the study in Beit HaMidrash, for that time, Shimon bni Chachamu. So there's a few explanations. The Maharsha said that it's just a general statement. Others hold that, like Meiri and others, said that it was like he commended to every Chacham. What does that mean? So they said in Gemara in Horayot 13b that there are category in the best din. There is a highest, there is a Av Beit Din, and you have Nasi, and you have Chacham. Chacham is the third one, the one who sits left to the Nasi, and he is the one who in charge for Isu Veheter. So that's his. Gamliel bni Nasi, Chanina bar Chama yeshev barosh. Chanina bar Chama, it's the one who's sitting at the head of the yeshiva. So the Khatam Sofer said he didn't want to hurt Rabban Gamliel. It's a few reasons why he did it. Al tispeduni ba'ayarot. Do not eulogize me in a small town. Savu mine mishum tira udekama. He doesn't want to impose. K'van echaz nekapsel b'rachim v'kadu kul alma amru shma mina mishum ikara udekama. This is the honor of the Torah, which means that he wanted many people to attend. Oshivu yeshiva lachar 30 yom. So he said, Adif la Moshe Rabbeinu. He doesn't want them to mourn, to eulogize more than Moses. Tichtiv, the Torah said in Deuteronomy 34, Vayivku bnei Yisrael Moshe barvot moav 30 yom. The mourn of Moshe Rabbeinu, 30 days. So the Gemara said in Moed Katan 27 doesn't want people to consider by any means more cry, more tears than Moses. 30 days they mourn day and night. Then it was only day, not night. Or the other way. So the whole experience was 12 months. So how come? So that means that the feeling of the something missing, such a level of Talmid Chacham and leader. How Yom Adashkavta the Rebbe, day that he passed. Nafka Bekala, Avamra Kodav Adashkavta the Rebbe, Muzman Lecha Olam Haba, which means anyone who occupied in the mourning or burial, the Maharsha said, so they welcome to world to come. So Tosfot asks, all is well, everyone is assured world to come. So there's a dual concept. There's a world to come straight line versus someone who needs to go to a trials and tribulations. So it means it's straight line, no suffering. Koves, in the literal sense, is someone who's a launderer. But anyway, he used to come before Rebbe every day. He didn't come one day. When he heard Sal Igra v'nafil hara umit, he jumped from the roof and passed. even that launderer too is the destined life of the world to come. So there's a few explanations what. Some say that he really committed suicide. Why did it? Some said Maharit said that it's the atonement for his sins. Some said because he doesn't know the halacha that is prohibited. Some said that he wasn't occupied with the kevura. Some said it was an act of teshuva. Some said that it's some sort of process, but the Maharal said that it wasn't intentional, which means he has so much sorrow, and Ben Yodai said that from heaven they turned around that he passed. The Maharal elaborated and he said that it wasn't a regular launderer in the literal sense, it's a figurative sense, it's almost euphemism. And he said that it's someone who wants to launder himself in order to be ready for Olam Haba. And that's the mean that he launder his soul himself, so therefore later by these actions he was invited to world to come. It reminds me a story. One of my colleagues, very Choshev Erov in New York. So I'm talking 20 years ago. So it was a negotiation over his contract. And the guy wanted, I don't know the exact, but I think it was 1,000 or a small amount raise every year to his contract. Something like that, just in my best recollection to show appreciation. So it was a very rich individual, very influential balabat in his community, who out of principle to show that he can control the rabbi and everything, he arranged a campaign purposely not to give him the $1,000 raise. First taste. So that day, he and I and another Rav, no names, we convinced, and he was very aggravated. Because he said he doesn't know if he win 1,000 and it's not 1,000, it's the principle. So the other Rav is a Sephardic rabbi, I don't mention names, live in Staten Island, New York. So he said, if you win 1,000 is good, but if you don't win, you win bigger. And you will see what happened. Sure enough, they have a board meeting, and they announce that they don't approve $1,000. So the guy said to him, the other rabbi said to him, the Sephardic rabbi said, you will see, you win much bigger than you think. So they have a meeting at 11 at night, true story. 11 at night they have a meeting, and that Balabat is a man at his early 80s or something like that, extremely wealthy. He owns companies in China, you name it. So they left, he was Sameach v'tov lev, like Haman HaRosha, he was very happy. In the morning, this man for 40 years in his business have a manner. 4:30 he is walking with the dogs, and then at about 5 o'clock he goes to Irvington and he opened his company. So he went there, not Irvington, I forget the name. Anyway, he went there and he opened his company and he wants to drink coffee. So he asked a few Spanish employees, whatever. It's a huge company, he asked them. So they told him that he's in an attic. So it was a ladder. So the Spanish guy said, I'll go up on the ladder and I'll pick up the coffee. He said, no, I want to do it. He went on the ladder and guess what happened? The ladder was backward because it wasn't hung properly on the top. So he was hit from his back, passed right away. Right away passed. And when we heard that, the other Sephardic rabbi for sure said, look, this is the story in the Gemara in Ketubot, page 103. You know, the guy was a koves. He did such a sin that, you know, it was taken care right away. He interpreted the letter more as a symbolic act. That you challenge that way with the rabbi, to try to be up in the ladder more than the Rav, so Hashem will turn away the ladder on you. And that's what happened to him. Anyway, Shimon bni Chacham, one of those stories, right? Mai Kamar, what he meant, Hache Kamar, Af al pi Shimon bni Chacham, Gam Miliel bni Nasi, even my son Shimon is a Chacham, Gamliel will be the president. Amar Levi tzricha lemema. Om Rabbi Shimon bar Rabbi tzricha lach ulemital'at. So they said that he was limping. So there's a famous Gemara we study already in Sukkah 23. That based on Gemara also in Tani 25 that he was disrespectful, to say the least, asking for Geshem to Hashem, etc. So that caused him to be limp. But it's a few explanations why he was limping. Anyway, I cracked the Kamar, they said the Chronicle, בית הממלכה נתן ליורם, יהושפט gave it to Yoram, כי הוא הבכור, because he was the oldest. הוא ממלא אבותיו אבא. So I explained in my book, Rashi tells us, כלומר אין באחיו חשוב ממנו, אבל כאן הרי אחיו חכם ממנו. So Pnei Yehoshua asked, what is the question? So how do you compare the two? So you have a few explanations, if it's related to the firstborn, or it's related to a level of knowledge, more knowledge. I elaborate in Pnei Yehoshua and the Rashash a lot in my book. You're welcome to read more on this. But it means, in compared to his brothers, he was the biggest one, but also had the firstborn. ורבן גמליאל לא מלא מקום אבותיו, ורבי מה איתם עבודה אחרי יודעים מלא מקום עבודה בחוכמה, ירתחיל מלא מקום אבותיו. Remember one of the Chsish Rebbe left few sons, and it was a big to do who was going to take over. One is a righteous man, the other one is a big Talmid Chacham, the other big Talmid Chacham is not the oldest one, so you should go by the first old, that. Anyway, eventually it was good for everyone. You know why? Because they make a different location, the Hasidic places, and one man cannot handle so many Hasidim, so they split, it's good, everyone was busy. חנינא בר חמא יושב בראש. לא קיבל רבי חנינא, שהיה רבי אפס, גדול ממנו 2 שנים מהחצץ, 2.5 years older. נתיב רבי אפס ברישא, ונתיב רבי חנינא ברבראי. ועוד לוי הרטיב גבה, נחנף של רבי אפס, ונתיב רבי חנינא ברישא, ולא אבל ללוי נשלם איתם גבה, וקראת לבבל. It's famous story in King David and his brothers. Anyway, King David with his son Shlomo, anyway, ואלו דקאמר לרב גברא רבא יתלה לנהר מתלה. Someone great come to Narda and is limping. ודרש כליל השערי, אמר שמע מינן האחנף של רבי אפס. ויתיב רבי חנינא ברישא אבל לוי הנה שלמת על גבה וקראת. אז הגמרא asked, ואמר רבי חנינא האחנף של רבי אפס כדיאתיב יתיב. ואמר לוי הנה שלמת על גבי וקראת. There's few explanations. בא איתם על לוי לרבי אפס מכפה וכפלי. Because Rabbi Afes was older than him. So you have to say the fact that he left Eretz Israel and he went to Bavel, it means that Rabbi Afes is the one who passed. Rabbi Chanina became the Rosh Hashiva, and Levi did not want to be under him. ובעיתים על כיוון אמר רבי חנינא בר חמא יושב בראש לא סגד לו מליך. תכתיבו בצדיקים, said in Eov 22, ותגזר עומר ויקום לך. Whatever Hashem fulfilled, whatever the tzaddikim said in our simple language is like, for sure, Chaz v'shalom, we don't say it in kivyachol, but it's like when the tzaddik goes there, when the righteous person make statement, Hashem in a way, even it shouldn't be that way, but Hashem make it that way because that's the gzera of the tzaddik. That's, you see it in Yaakov Avinu with Rachel, you see it many times. But when the tzaddik said, that's it. Ve'avi Rabbi Chia, Rabbi Chia was more proper to do it, נחנף שהיא passed. הוא אמר רבי חייא, אני ראיתי קברו של רבי, והורדתי אליו דמעות, which means he was alive, so the היפוך. is the other way around. אמר רבי חייא, אותו יום שמת רבי בטלה קדושה. The past is no longer קדושה. This is a Mishna in Pirkei Avot, it's also the Mishna in Sota 49. So it means that it's different level, the sanctity in the world, when he was no longer around. So the Eipuch. ותן כשחלה רבי נכנס רבי חייא לצפון מצורי שהוא בוכה, אמר לו, רבי מפני אתה בוכה, why you crying? ותניא מתן בתוך הסול סימן יפה לו, בתוך הבחיר סימן רע לו, if someone cried, it means that he feel he goes to גיהינום, so why you crying? פניו למעלה סימן יפה לו, פניו למטה סימן רע לו, פניו כלפי העם סימן יפה לו, כלפי הכל סימן רע לו, פניו ירוקים סימן רע לו, פניו צהובים ואדומים סימן יפה לו. Again, it's very high level, Ben Yoadai explained, but in a very high level to understand what does that mean in a different form of death. We are not here in any form of the early 14th century Dante. You know, Dante, it was a fellow in Europe took place in a big Black Death, you know, 1316, 1317. Yeah. Terrible death for a couple of years. It wasn't the sun, it was death. Terrible. So after that was the Dante that he came with the 7 levels of death. Anyway, it's nothing. Dante. We don't understand all these things. We're just reading it. It's a lot of Kabbalah in that. The Maharal and the Ben Yoyada and these Gedolim dealt with that. We're just reading this Gemara. Anyway, פניו צהובים ואדומים סימן יפה לו. If his face is yellow and red, it's good sign. מת בערב שבת סימן יפה לו. If someone passed away Friday before Shabbat, it's time of resting, it's proper, it's good sign. מוצאי שבת סימן רע לו. מת בערב יום כיפורים סימן רע לו. מוצאי יום כיפורים סימן יפה לו. Again, it's not in a simple way. Simple way, it's like because of Yom Kippur, is a time for forgiveness for the sin, is atonement. מת בכל המעיים סימן יפה לו, מפני שרובם של צדיקים מתים במחלת ריאות, מעיים. So he said if he have a stomach issue, most of the righteous die with the intestine the diseases. Where is Dr. Helen Cohen? Anyway, he said, אמר לא, אנא התורה ומצוות כבחינה. I cry for missing the celebrate Vilna Goyen, he said. Before he passed, he cried that he doesn't have the chance to fulfill the mitzvah, so that's a cry. Anyway, בא איתם האיפור, ובא איתם עולם לא תיפור, רב חייא עסוק מצוותיו, אבל רבי סבר לו אף הגרי. So again, he was so much occupied with mitzvot, צורכי ציבור, and other. והיינו, דחייה ומיצו רבי חנינא ורבי חייא, when they have מלחמה של קודש, they fight over understanding, אומר לרבי חנינא לרבי בא, בעדי דין מנצת, ונמחץ בשלום את שליחת תורה מישראל, מהדרן עלי, מפלפולי, אמר לרבי חייא, העבדים לא משתכרם תורה מישראל. נעתינה קיטנה ושדנה, מגדלנו נשבי, וציידינה תאי ומכנינה בישראל ליתמי, וערכינו מגינו משכה וטביה, I explained in my book, at length, we don't have time. Rashi here explained, וסלקת למטיה דלת לבי מקרה דרדקי, are going to a city that have no children בחדר, וחתים לחמישה חומשי תורה לינוקי, so I'm writing on a scroll the חמישה חומשי תורה, מתנינה שיטה סדרה לשיטה יונקי, so by heart I teach them שיטה במשנה, לכל אחד ואחד אמר לי, אתני סדרה לחברך. ואנו דאמרה בעיקר מוגדרים מהשכיה, again, we just treat it, it's very high to understand how great he was. אומר לו רבי שמעון ברבי, אפילו ממך, אמר לי, היי, אמר לרבי ישמעאל ורבי יוסי, אפילו מאבא, אמר לחס ושלום לא תהיה כזאת בישראל. So again, Rashi here, I explained that, כלומר שלא אומר כדבר הזה לעולם, which means that it's inappropriate to say that רבי חייא הגדול ורבי יוסי, same as בבא מציע 85b, it's לומר, it's inappropriate to say it. Anyway, it's a few explanations further with the מרשה. אומר ללבדין קטן נצריך, נכנס רבי שמעון אצלו, מסר לו סדרי חוכמה. So it means, it's Yosef said, he told him the explanation of Bereshit and chariot of Ezekiel, which is again, very high Kabbalistic secret. Or the Meiri said the secret of how the head of the Beis Din should certain decorum, certain wisdom. אומר להם, בבני גדול אני צריך, נכנס רבן גמליאל עצמו, מצא לו סדרי נשיאות, אמר לו, בני, נהוג נשיאותך ברמים. Which means you sit like a king. Did you ever went to a tish of the square Rebbe? You see there, in Spring Valley, it's a malchus, like Rojim. You see the Rebbe and all the... זרוק מרה בתלמידים. Which means don't be so friendly with the students, hold some discipline with them. Right? Like we should do with the Gaboim. Eini, they said, והכתיב, they said, ותראה אשר מכבד. you know. They meant well, but they shouldn't talk when we read the Torah. They said in Tehillim 15, ואמר זה יהושפט מלך יהודה, כשהרואה רבי תלמיד חכם, העומד מכיסו מחבקו ומנשקו וקורא לו רבי רבי מרי מרי. So for sure, if king does so for תלמיד חכמים, so how much the Nasi need? לא קשניה, בצינה בפרס, you have to differentiate between in public or in private, because the honor of the king is higher than the Nasi.
Boyachem leshuloim malachai yeshuloim malachai